Good morning. How are you today? Well, we have the spring rain a little bit. It's overcast, and a few moments ago the rain was a little heavier. Now there's only a drip drop, thus the garb that I'm wearing to take care of this. I'm still in my cathedral of trees, and I don't intend to preach, but I have a couple of thoughts. One is that we're in the month of the woman, and we have had great advances and successes. Of course, we think of our vice president, who is the first woman vice president, and someday may be the president. And if not she, she's paved the way for someone who will after Joe steps aside. And she's been given important roles. And we see people getting elected to Congress who are women. And so we see these advances. But our government has an original sin in more ways than one. So we have a Declaration of Independence that says all men are equal. Okay, well, that was more than just a selection of a pronoun, because women, when the Declaration and the Constitution passed, women were chattels. They didn't have the right to vote. And our second sin, of course, is slavery and racism. And it took a civil war for slaves to be free and to get the right to vote. But still, in the 1860s, women still didn't have the right to vote. And in 1920, when they did get the constitutional right to vote, it was in part because they agreed to support prohibition as a contractual relationship politically to get the right to vote. But even after that, the discrimination against women has been enormous. And, not just women, but this is the month of the woman, and let's talk about where we are. It's almost as if a separate predator aspect of our society doubles down on discrimination when there are advances by any group that's a minority. And I suppose a lot of it is partisan politics, in the sense that the Republicans expect more women to support the other party, and it's because the Republican agenda favors this kind of discrimination. Now, one of the things that struck me this week was there was a case in Minnesota involving rape. And the theory of the case was the usual one, and the man was convicted of rape. He had taken a woman who was drunk from a bar, and instead of being the good Samaritan he could have been, getting her home or taking her home, but respecting her privacy, he took her home with a friend. And in the morning, he said that, she just turned him on. And she said, well, keep your distance, fella. And he didn't, and he raped her. And she luckily not only told a friend, but she went, and there was a rape kit that showed that she had been raped. And he was convicted of rape, and it was upheld by the court. But in a 6-0 decision, they decided a woman who has herself drunk too much, that she's incapacitated, that diminishes the rape or attack on her. So in other words, it's not rape, it's a lesser offense. So it's like it's an implied consent by her vulnerability that someone could take advantage of her and rape her. Outrageous. That's the law in Minnesota. But what I found out, it's also the law elsewhere, including in New York and, 20 to 40 states. We have this bizarre provision that I had never paid attention to. Years ago, when I was on the board of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, it was outstanding women, and we were talking about a variety of kinds of cases. And several of these women handled the defense of the rapist. Okay, he's entitled to a defense, individually, collectively. But the thing that surprised me was they said, John, it reaches a point where a man can't control himself. And so that, as I understood it, was a defense they used. I don't know how well it worked. And my view was, every sexual relationship involves a bare minimum of two things. One, consent, and two, below a certain age, there shouldn't be any sexual relationships, intimate sexual relationships. And they questioned me, a man, about how one could do that. And I said, of course you can do it. it evolves in a relationship. You're paying attention to each other. Who wants to be assaulting someone who does not want to have consensual relationships? So where are we today? Well, over time, we're still fighting over the Equal Rights Amendment. Why shouldn't a woman be paid equally? Why shouldn't she be treated well? Why do we still label a pregnancy as an illness when it's a natural passage of life born almost entirely by the woman, certainly during the gestation period? And we've had a lot of litigation about a woman's right to be let alone when she becomes pregnant involuntarily, say in a rape. But, more than that. And that's why we have had the discussion of trimesters and when a woman can properly not have a child, not let it go to term, that when the child is not wanted. And I'm comfortable with that. I think that's right. And I don't think any man should be telling a woman what to do with her body in that regard, because he doesn't have to carry the child, wanted or unwanted. So we have made great advances, but those predators in society, not just the rapists, but those who would abuse women and limit their rights and treat them as second and third, degenerate citizens, those people have got to be shouted down, and we have to have legislation that protects women and recognizes their rights to be treated equally with men. So, and that's my talk for this Sunday. It is the month of the woman, and I think that's about right. And the enlightened men know this. I think of my mom. I don't remember her getting a raw deal, and she worked for a while at a place called Biograph Studios that made movies across from where we lived in a picturesque tenement in the South Bronx. And I think she was treated well there, and she had jobs as typist. And my dad and her seemed very comfortable with their respective roles. And when I say that, I mean they treated each other with respect and dignity. Show me a man didn't get along with his mom, I'll show you a guy you got to watch out for. And my dad was a strong guy. So I think that, I don't know that my family's a model for others, but there are enough of us families who respected women before it was accepted nationally, and it has to be accepted nationally. We can't have this go on anymore. So, again, this is a marvelous Sunday. Everything is turning green, and I hope wherever you are, you're having a good day. Bye-bye.